Are you taking Kiki down?
I already took them down once.
You did?
Yeah. I think there was an employee that worked for us at night named Kayvon Fordley. Where's she? Like there's an employee that worked for. Like at 10, we needed like 10.
Hey, John.
What?
It was literally gone all day long. When I asked him, what, he yelled at me. Seriously. Does he work here?
Can people hear us online? Cool. Thank you, everyone. Hi, Dr. Karki.
Good morning, ma'am. How are you?
We can hear you. Dr. Karki, can you say something now?
Good morning, ma'am. How are you?
We can't hear you. 1 second.
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, can folks online hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear. I hear very well.
Yep, I can hear you.
Amazing. Thank you, Dr. Karki.
Thank
Now
you,
we
ma'am.
hear you too.
I can hear you too. Sounds good.
Thanks, Grace. Okay, we can go ahead and get started in a moment if that works for everyone. Should we go around and introduce ourselves in the room since some people are meeting each other for the first time in person? Does that work? And that might help us save some time in roll call too. So everyone might know me. I'm Annika Lefebvre. I'm the Resilience Program Coordinator here at MDEM. And I work with you all in the council. I'll pass it to Dr. Lansing.
I'm Stephanie Lansing. I'm the current co-chair of the Maryland Food System Resiliency Council, and I'm a professor at the University of Maryland in Ag and Natural Resources.
My name is Dr. Bill Schindler. I am coming to you now from Modern Stone Age Kitchen in Chestertown, Maryland, in Kent County. My background is in anthropology, archaeology, and now I guess turned chef.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lindsay Doyle. My day job is with the UN Environment Program and Finance Initiative, and I'm on the council of the climate change specialist.
The voice is not very clear today.
She said it's very clear today.
Oh, good.
I'm also Lindsay Alimi, and I am here from Anne Arundel County Food Bank, registering a month ago. This is my first time and my title is Director of Community Programs Federation. Yes, like.
Good morning. My name is Monica Kendall. I'm with MDEM. I'm our Chief Field and Practice Officer. I also serve as that.
Good morning. I'm Nancy Nunn. I'm with the Hughes Center for Agroecology, and I'm also with the Upper Shore Food Council.
I'm Lisa Lackameyer, I'm the SNAP Ed Director, and I work for the University of Maryland Extension. Hi, good morning. I'm Leah Paley. I'm the CEO of the Anne Arundel County Food Bank, and this is my first meeting as an official member of the council representing independent food banks. Hello, I'm Shannon McDonald. I work for the Maryland Department of Environment. I'm responsible for our food digital diversion law, and I'm an ex-officio member.
Good morning. My name is Diana Taylor. I am a member of the FSRC and I oversee the Food Council in Anne Arundel County.
I am Teresa Stahl, and I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist with the Western Maryland Food Council and the Allegheny County Health Department.
Hi, good morning. I'm Daphne Altema. I am a senior program officer with the Johns Hopkins Center for Living Future, and I'm also a registered dietitian.
Hi, everyone. Michelle Caruso. I'm an independent food systems consultant and here representing the Frederick County Food Council.
Hi, I'm Piper. I'm from Congressional Hunger Center as an Emerson Hunger Fellow, and I've been placed with the Office of Resiliency here for the next 3 months. 4 months.
In summer.
Oh, I'm Summer. I'm the Deputy Chief Resilience Officer, so I work with Anna and Piper.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. I have sent you the agenda probably too many times, so I'm sorry for that. But here it is in case you don't remember. Can everyone see this okay? Who's in the room? I don't know if it's better to.
Okay.
Okay, well, I wonder for the slides if we should. I think that the problem is we won't be able to see.
You X out of the people thing. Let's see. Does that help?
There we go. Cool. Okay. So today we are going to cover a lot of business for the council. We're going to kick things off in a fun way and have Dr. Karki be the member spotlight for this meeting. And so for those of you who are new to the council, we like to start the full council meetings with like a brief getting to know you introduction for different council members each time. But before that, we'll have Dr. Lansing, the co-chair of the council, say a few words to welcome us, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. So Secretary Strickland can't be here today, so I am going to be the co-chair, the chair of the meeting, I guess, in this sense. But on behalf of Secretary Strickland, we just want to thank everybody for coming here. I know, especially right now, there is, unfortunately, the trend in food insecurity is going up right now, and there's a lot of unknowns in this space. And I know everybody in this table and online is very busy doing what we can to kind of really think about our food system resiliency. So I just appreciate everybody taking the time to be here, to collaborate, to make connections, and, to bring your ideas and your expertise into this space, because this is the time that we really do need it. And we just appreciate everybody's contribution. So I appreciate everybody being here.
Thank you. I guess we're going to do roll call for real because we didn't have the people online introduce themselves. Piper, would you mind going down the list and saying people's first and last name?
Jesse Albright.
So say it loud for them to hear.
Sorry. Jesse Albright.
Just keep going.
All right.
They'll chime in.
Daphne Altima Johnson.
Daphne.
So sorry. Heather Boyce Breskin.
Present. Good morning.
Beth Brewster.
Here.
Michelle Burton. Michelle Caruso.
Here.
Delegate Charcudian. Lindsay Doyle.
Here.
Anne Marie Hart Bookbinder.
Here.
Enrique Nelson Escobar. Katie Fry Hester. Nick Hargrove. LaBelle Hope. Oops. Yeah.
Hillgrove. Yep, LaBelle Hillgrove. Great day. Present.
Thank you. LaMonica Jones.
Good morning. I'm here.
Lila Karki,
Present.
Lisa Lachenmeyer. Taylor LeFave.
We have Najla here for Taylor.
Okay. Dr. Lansing,
Here.
Grace Leatherman,
Here.
Joe Liu,
Here online.
Stephen McHenry,
Good morning, everyone.
Joe Malone,
Good morning.
Nancy Nunn,
Present.
Leah Paley,
Present.
Martin,
He's here.
Good morning. I'm here.
Mary Salins,
Here.
Bill Schindler,
Here.
Carl Schlegel, Teresa Stahl,
Here.
Secretary Strickland, Diana Taylor,
Here.
and Ann Wallerstedt.
Here.
And then we have Shannon McDonald and Leslie Sessom Parks, who are both here. Do we have a quorum?
Yeah.
Excellent, everyone. We have a quorum, so we can make the voting happen today. Online, I don't think I said this out loud, but to you all, but our internet is being a little bit problematic this morning. So I'm sorry if there's a delay for you. Please let us know. I just wanted to introduce Dr. Bill Schindler. He is the owner of Modern Stone Age Kitchen, and he is our newest member since the last council meeting. Bill is here in person. Bill, do you want to say anything?
No, just I'm thrilled to be a part of all this. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to all the conversations and all the work we'll do together.
Okay. Just some announcements about upcoming meetings. I think for the sake of time, I'm not going to run through it all, but let me know if you're having issues with your calendar invites. I did want to mention that the council members have done some outreach for the 2025 annual report. Dr. Lansing and Heather Breskin presented at the Rural Maryland Summit about the FSRC and local food councils alongside Cheryl DeBerry from the Western Maryland Food Council. Did you want to say anything about that one, Dr. Lansing?
It was really great feedback. So we had a panel at the Maryland Summit, and what was great is not only were we able to kind of explain some of the recommendations that we have, but it turned into a really great conversation. So we had people there who were part of, for example, some of the programs where you were purchasing food for food banks, and now that money is maybe no longer there, how can we make some of these connections? How can we think about local procurement and having, more of our local farmers entering into the space? And so it was a really good discussion that we had. And we also talked about some of the food councils that are emerging. And we had people there from some of those from the Eastern Shore, Lower Eastern Shore Food Council and Upper East Shore Food Council who are very interested in continue the conversation and having the support and being part of this. So all in all, I think it was very well received. And I think it was, we had a lot of people follow up afterwards. So it was a really great, not only presentation, but a conversation. And so I think we did make some more connections, and it was a really good outreach effort.
And then on December 4th, last week, Dr. Lansing and Heather Breskin presented to the Governor's Intergovernmental Commission on Agriculture, GICA, just a few of the recommendations that primarily focused on agriculture. And that was also very well received. Heather, do you want to say anything about that?
No, I just appreciate the opportunity to get to uplift the expertise of everybody on the FSRC to new audiences and networks. And similarly, there was very valuable discussion with representatives related to agriculture from around the state, and a lot of appreciation for the recommendations of the FSRC and the relevance to the work that they do. So I think huge appreciation to Ann Piper and the team for having us be so well prepared content-wise to get to hopefully generate some momentum around the recommendation. So thank you.
Thank you both. Okay, I don't want to spend too much time on this just because I know that we're going to run out of time quickly. I did want to just debrief on the FSRC's efforts during the shutdown and November SNAP response. The briefing that you all helped coordinate and the online information hub that we launched through the FSRC website were very well received, and we were really surprised with like the number of people who visited the website in such a short amount of time. It was well over 1,000, so seemed like a great thing to do, and it is inspiring to remember that the council is here to be this like coordinator and information provider during times like that. Okay, so hopefully you all had a chance to adopt or look at the meeting minutes from September. We're going to have to take a vote to adopt the meeting minutes, but Dr. Lansing, you take it away.
Yeah, so do we have somebody to move to vote the meeting minutes? Okay.
Meeting minutes as presented.
Nancy moved, and would you like to second? And Diana seconds. All those in favor of adopting the meeting minutes for September, please say aye. Raise your hand online. All right. All those opposed? Okay, motion passes and we adopt the meeting minutes. Thank you.
Excellent. Oh, okay. And Dr. Karki, we have your member spotlight now. I have your slides queued up if that's okay with you, but if you'd like to present for yourself, I think that would be okay as well. Do you have a preference?
Yeah, that would be better.
For you to share your own screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You should be able to now. Let me know if it doesn't work for you. Oh. Where did that happen? Is it letting you share, Dr. Karki?
Just a second. No, ma'am.
Okay, I'll share yours if that's okay, and I'll okay. So Dr. Karki, take it away. Did we lose you? Oh no.
Maybe may try to. Dr. Karki, can you hear us?
Yeah, I do. Sorry for the technical glitch. Maybe could you give me I mean chance to share one more time?
Yeah, you should be able to just take it over, but give it a shot. Is it not letting you?
No, ma'am. Anyway, now you will help me. That's fine.
I'm sorry.
Can you see the slides on the screen, Dr. Karki? Can you just tell us when to advance the slide?
Yeah, yes, Dr. Lansing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, can I start now?
Yes, please go ahead, Dr. Karki. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Leela Karki. To help you remember my name, my last name is pronounced similarly to your Karki. That way, I don't anticipate anybody forgetting their Karki. I serve I serve Marylanders and beyond as an associate professor of agricultural economics and extension program evaluation specialist. Next, please. Over the past 5 years, I was very happy to have a couple of accomplishments to share with you: Climate Adaptation and Mitigation Fellowship, Outstanding Extension Achievement Award, Lifetime Achievement Award, and Gold Pin, the U.S. President's Volunteer Service Award, Outstanding Chapter President Award, Institutions Director for Agriculture and Applied Economics Association, and now I serve as the PhD Applied Economics Program Coordinator on campus here. Next, please. I lead this program and planning evaluation division for extension, and we offer these 7 major programs, and the one community and economic development has been expanded to these 3 to better serve our target clientele. Next, please. Most of my grant projects are about climate resilient agroforestry, also called climate resilient alley cropping, formerly used to call climate smart agriculture. And I serve many small scale farmers in several counties, and this is my model, climate resilient agriculture agroforestry model. And the uniqueness of this model is all fruit trees are planted on rows, and all vegetables and these ops and or ops are planted in the alleys, also called companion crops. And while fruit trees are growing, these alley crops maintain operational cash flow in the farm, and when they harvest these vegetables and ops each season, and we introduce cover crops. And a producer who implements this model will have 4 different sources of income. One is from fruits, second is vegetables, third is cover crops, and in the long run, carbon credits. Next, please. Before I implemented this project, I organized one workshop on campus, and you see me standing there. He's our dean, inviting clientele or participants from several counties. Next one, please. Yeah, this is one of the on-farm demonstration site of our demonstration model. He is a veteran farmer, and he introduced this on-farm demonstration site. Does anyone know what this fruit tree is? It is too small, but still I wanted to ask. Well, this is a fig tree, and this is the demonstrations is based on fig and persimmon. Persimmon is on the other side of this field. Next one, please. This is another demonstration site. The difference is basically I have 2 different modality of implementing my climate resilient projects. One is a one-farm demonstration, and another is community demonstration. And this is a community demonstration site we established last year. Next one, please. And he is one of my graduate students helping producers keep measurements and maintain records. And this farmer initially was not very happy to adopt this model, but when she harvested a lot of squash, see the other companion crops, bell peppers, here eggplant and this cantaloupe, and she was very happy. And this model is primarily based on pecan. This is a pecan tree, and still very small. Hope grows well next year. Next one, please. And UMS extension also helped urban gardeners. Maybe this was not in order. I changed little bit slides after I shared with you, Ms. Lafeb. Sorry. And through UMS extension, we helped urban gardeners that I work nearly 100 small and ethnic minority producers in Baltimore County. And once they have produce in the garden, we encourage them to sell their produce. They were very reluctant to take to the market the very first time, but now they are happy when they sold their produce. And this was at the Towson Street Festival in Baltimore. Next one, please. This is one of my major tasks where I do evaluate or do post-evaluation of extension activities. You can see on the picture, berry picking, farm boys tour, traveling agri-tourism workshops. Next one, please. Something went wrong. Anyway, I'll be having a few more slides here. And in terms of publication, this year went very well to me. We were able to publish 4 papers. The first one is in American Journal of Economics and Business Innovation. Next one, please. Oh, something is wrong in the slide.
I'm sorry,
Anyway,
Dr. Karki.
yeah, I think something definitely went wrong. And in terms of grant projects, my collaboration team and I were able to win 11 grant projects. Next one, please. 11 projects. Next one, please. And as the PI, I oversee 5 projects and totaling nearly $1.5 million. And as the co-PI, I am engaged in 6 different projects, little over $2 million. Next one, please. Oh my God, many slides got lost. Then if this is the last one, then I thank you for listening. And you see me working with my graduate students, putting mulch and compost in on-farm demonstration site. And my students, I think we weeding in this vegetable alleys. I think this he planted cantaloupe, bell pepper, and eggplants there. With that, thank you very much. I am sorry I was expecting to share a few more action pictures, but something went wrong. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you so much, Dr. Karki.
You are welcome, ma'am, and thanks for the opportunity.
Any questions for Dr. Karki?
And sorry to share, like my $1.5 million climate smart project was terminated last year by the government, took back all money.
Very impressive.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. I think we all enjoyed the action photos we did get to see. So thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. We're going to switch gears to talking a little bit more about what's coming for the council in the coming year. And so just to set the stage, we are proposing or considering a proposal to pause recommendations creation for the coming calendar year. The idea behind that would be giving the council some breathing room to take stock about past recommendations and like really look at the progress that you all have made. We feel like, or I personally feel like you all worked so hard on this past year's report. There was so much engagement from all of the council members. It was really inspiring. And those recommendations haven't really, gone away just because you published them. And so we're thinking about what is the best way to honor that work that you've done and move forward in a way that feels productive for you all. So an idea would be to reframe the coming annual report, which is a requirement for the council to have an annual report. It doesn't have to have recommendations, but this annual report could serve as like a 5-year retrospective for the council and really look back at all of the work that you've done over the past 5 years. And maybe this could give you some time to advance past priority recommendations, look back and see where are things that you can move forward. So I did do a quick scan through of your past reports to look for examples of recommendations that have made progress or been implemented in some capacity. And I'm glad I did this because it's a question I get frequently about the council is what has come out of the council's work. So there were many for goal 1, the food insecurity map, as you all may know, has been launched on the council's website, and we are currently updating it based on the council's feedback and requests. The fund purchase of local food for emergency food assistance that happened through LFPA, LFPA Plus, and M-Farm. We know that LFPA Plus is going to end soon, but M-Farm is ongoing. State level integration of social safety net programs for improved access. The Maryland Benefits One application launched over the summer. So now there's one online hub where people can apply for those programs. Fund the Office of Resilience and the FSRC. Here we are. Integrate the FSRC as an advisory body within MDEM. Again, here we are. Create an online resource database for local agriculture. Maryland's Best exists now. Yes, I can send this to you. And I did want to note, you see, I skipped to goal 3 here. I did not find one for goal 2 that we could implement. A recurring one for goal 2 that we're going to talk about later is the cold storage one, but there might be others that we should take a look at. Anyway, goal 3, that is the one about local food councils. You suggested that grant funding should be provided for local food councils, new local food councils to establish, and for sustainment of existing councils, and through the work that Montgomery County Food Council did, and Michelle Caruso was a big part of that. 5 new food councils were launched, and now we have even more than that because of this work. So that's great. And then local food council coordinator, you recommended that there should be someone who's working across councils in this past year's report. And coincidentally, Summer and I and Mike were thinking we would love to have that as well at the same time that you were. And so we applied for an Emerson Fellow. Here's Piper, and she is going to be reaching out to local food councils in the coming calendar year and trying to get the ball rolling with some of that coordination. Okay, and then goal 4, the Maryland Ag Commission was asked in the 2024 report to address regulatory barriers for beginning farmers. Dr. Lansing and Diana Taylor presented to the Ag Commission in September of 2024, and they on the spot adopted the recommendation and fully agreed with it. The early warning weather system recommendation from this year, the Messinet program exists and will continue to be maintained, and we don't see that going anywhere, so there is room for continuing that effort. And then with the value-added agricultural standards, Martin has just published the value-added agriculture guide with MDA and has made progress with that as well. Okay, so now we would like to have a conversation with you all and hear what you think. Dr. Lansing, I'm going to turn it over to you to kick it off.
So this is really just time for us to kind of discuss again. For 5 years, we have put out these recommendations, and we've, done a really good job doing this. So this is really just a shift in our workflow, with the idea being putting this pause on the recommendations. Instead, we will still have a report, but some of the information that Annika just read, this retrospective, would be part of that report, right? These are the things that we've done. These are the recommendations that we had. These are the ones that are implemented now. These are the ones that are being implemented. And these are the ones that we're still working on. We're not there, but we're going to actually have boots on the ground to work on, making progress in some of these, especially ones that don't need legislation, right? There's a lot of recommendations that didn't necessarily need legislation for a work group to form, for example. So let's start working on getting some of those things done. So what we'd like to open the floor up to really kind of think about how this change in workflow would affect our committee level activities. We have the 3 committees, environment and production, distribution and access, and communication and coordination. How would that affect your workflow? Would it change any of the structure that we're doing for this year? Other considerations, but we are going to bring this for a vote today. So we're just opening up for discussions, and then the vote would be agreeing to the pausing of recommendations and instead doing a retrospective report for this year's outcome of the council. We're only doing that for 1 year. Next year, it would go back to normal, but we need to vote to change kind of the order of operations that we're doing.
Yeah, I have a question. I don't think this is bad, actually. I think this is good. I told Annika this previously. But have we thought about, since we've started, like doing like a process evaluation, kind of like looking at, I think this is important for the type of work that we do, especially we look at policy, we look at, system issues, we look at a lot of different things, but I don't know that, because when we started, we hit the ground running, so to speak. Even like when policies came about, we were just at one point just writing and everything. We're like, no, this is not going to work. It's like we don't have enough, resources.
Yeah.
We had to, set up a process on how to do that. But I think it's probably a good time to do something like maybe a formal like evaluation, a process evaluation.
Yeah.
This is what we set out to do. This is what we've done. This is what worked. This is what hasn't worked, and kind of look into why it hasn't worked, and are there different processes we can change or tweak to moving forward have more of an effective system to meet the goal. So I do think
And I think that's part of the 5-year retrospective but I like the way that you stated that, specifically this process evaluation, not just the recommendations, but the process that we use. And so I think that could very well be part of the retrospective. Again, the idea is that we will still have a report that will be draft, that will come out for our internal comment. It'll go, so there'll be time to work on that. But I think having, as you're saying, not just recommendations and what Annika presented, but also the process, how we started and where we are now. After this, we're going to vote on bylaws, right? It's taken us time to get to where we are, and what worked and what didn't, I think is a great thing to put in the report.
It'd be good for funding, if you think about it too. We should get funding, and like we have this, like, yeah, we asked you for this.
Yeah.
And here what we've done, but we need someone to do X, Y, and Z.
For foundation funding for the
Yes,
council.
you got it. You
Yeah.
got it.
And I don't know who was next. Leah has her hand up, I think.
Oh, it really doesn't matter.
Okay.
But I was just curious, would this 5-year retrospective look back and on progress made also include the opportunity to suggest if there are recommendations that no longer apply, or has that been done already?
Yeah, that's a good idea. So not only what recommendations have been implemented, what we're still working on, and what the landscape has changed.
Yeah.
And so another category like this is obsolete. Exactly. That's a good point.
And Lindsay.
Yeah, and just building on your suggestion, I think there's also an opportunity, sort of, from my perspective as maybe a newer member to the council, to perhaps include over time how we're monitoring that success. So not just like a one and done kind of an evaluation, but perhaps considering some key performance indicators or some metrics of success that we can all look for that are aligned with the core goals, to kind of build that in, that we look at each year, to be able to track that progress over time and show the success of the council and communicate that with key stakeholders.
Yeah, so not only what the process that we were doing before, how that looked, but also moving forward, how can we better track progress on a yearly basis? I like that.
So I think it's a great idea. Because I think it would afford us the time to really delve even further into some of the issues that we have addressed in our recommendations. So I think that's really, really good. I guess my only caveat or question is if something absolutely, and I don't want to say challenging or wild happens this year, because that seems to be the norm now. How are we going to write in a caveat that we can address it?
Okay. Yeah, great. So in that report, is there the ability to put in, just to say, but this is really important. This is what we should be focusing on. Like having not a formal recommendation, but kind of if there is something that we need to respond to, make sure that goes in the report. Is that what you're thinking?
Right.
Yeah.
So that there is an acknowledgement of, if we're step in, say next year, it would seem a little odd if there was nothing in that report about an issue like that so impacts state security. So I think we just need to be mindful of how we would address that.
Yeah. So just having flexibility in this retrospective, if there is something that come up that we can include that in the report, not necessarily it will be, but there is the opportunity to include that.
There's a chance it may fit under a recommendation that already exists.
Right.
But, calling attention.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. And we'll get to the bylaws too, but there is the opportunity for us, if there is a legislation that directly affects what we're doing, we still do have the opportunity to speak on that for the Maryland legislation. So that is, even though, we're not putting forth recommendations, we still have the opportunity to speak, but we now have that process in the bylaws of how that would occur.
Yeah, I just want to add on and say that our recommendations from this year occurred before the reconciliation bill passed and before the food system landscape completely shifted. And so that might be an area that we want to look at to make sure that we are addressing, because I think because we don't address it directly, it looks like it's an opportunity to just make sure that we share that we're aware of this moving forward, and that we are, monitoring its impacts to Maryland and opportunities for Maryland, to, address some of this gap or increase coordination or what have you. But, I think all of these things have happened so quickly over time, but, SNAP will not be the same for a long time. Like a lot of people are not going to be able to access SNAP in the same ways. And that's a permanent change. And then the state's, required contribution is a huge change in what that means for our budget. So I just think we need to, especially in a shortfall time. And so before we look back, let's make sure to address the current situation in some way. But other than that, like I completely agree. And I think we should really spend our valuable time as, pseudo volunteers or volunteers, trying to, make some of this happen. So I appreciate this.
And I actually think some of the work that we did with that emergency webpage kind of helped us figure out what all the pieces are. And so I think it'd be very easy for us to incorporate that into this report, because we did, we were responding to it, but we need to make sure that we acknowledge that the landscape is going to be different. And so moving forward, we need to work in this new landscape. And that's one of the reasons we're kind of reevaluating what we've been doing and what we will do. I like that perspective.
Lisa.
I wonder too if there's a way that these can be communicated to different stakeholders, not just at the state level, but knowing that a lot of these, kind of things can be influenced by potentially having advocates at food councils forum, but also county governments, having, people in the community being advocates for them. I feel like there's a lot if we're kind of taking a little bit of a breather on them to really be able to communicate them so people understand and can become advocates for it, so that if it ever could be a bill or there's a policy change at the county level that that they're getting out and that you're kind of creating advocates around the state for it. So really thinking through, this could be advocated for a policy change at the county level. So how can we communicate to county government stakeholders? And so kind of thinking through each one, who stakeholders or advocates could be, and messaging to them in different ways, and who can be people champions for it.
I like that idea. And I think that's one, thinking about the audience that you brought up is, our report goes to the governor every year. That's our audience, is the governor and the legislator. And so can we, in this report, can there be a couple page fact sheet for different audiences, kind of explaining what we do as almost like an executive summary, but also just kind of, this is who the council is, this is what we've done, almost like a 1 or 2 page fact sheet that, people can point to. And I think that would get to some of the different audiences that we have. So it's not just to the governor and the legislator. I like that.
Heather, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thanks. I would just say, I would be curious to know, I appreciate Lisa's comment about engaging county governments very much, because I don't know what percentage of counties have active engagement with the FSRC, but I do know that every county must have a person or a team of legislative liaisons for the General Assembly session. And so making sure that they, even if it's just a 1-page memo, like Dr. Lansing said, pulling out the recommendations and making sure that they're aware and out there, I think is a terrific idea, because not everybody has somebody internally who has the capacity to lift up and highlight the recommendations, but it could potentially be a really valuable tool for counties to know that these things have been shared by a state agency or by a state body to the governor.
I think that's a really good point, Heather. And I'm thinking in particular about Prince George's County just had a food system hire, just a few, I think she's only been there a month or two. And are there other counties that are doing this? And how do we engage those people like you, Heather, that are doing such important work in the food system at the county? Are there other people in the county governments that are doing this work that we can engage? I think that's a really good point.
Okay, and Joe Liu online has said he appreciates the comments about the importance of recommendations in the midst of all the changes wrought by HR 1 to SNAP and Medicaid. DHS and MD Medicaid are great partners, and we should be very proactive in helping the legislature be an active part of the state's response. Okay, for the sake of time, I'm going to move us on unless someone has a burning comment that they want to make. So now we're going to vote on moving forward with this. Dr. Lansing.
Yeah, so what we are voting on is pausing recommendations for 2026, and in lieu of that, having a retrospective report being done in 2026 around the same timeline, I believe, in terms of the timeline we have normally had for the recommendations. So that would be in the spring, we'll do our internal. In the summer, it would be published. Would anyone like to move that we would pause recommendations for 2026? Okay, Daphne, anyone second? Okay, Teresa. All those in favor?
Yeah.
Online?
Aye.
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 Okay, hands down, any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. That has passed, so we will be pausing the recommendations for 2026. Thank you.
Grace, do you have a question or are you voting for the other direction?
Nope, just struggling.
Okay, we're going to get into the bylaws updates now. Hopefully you've all had the opportunity to review the changes to the bylaws. And I tried to make it really obvious in the copies I sent out to you by highlighting it in yellow where there were significant changes. For the sake of time, I really don't want to read to you all of the new things. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we created this appendix item that's like a stakeholder engagement and outreach guideline. We have some new steps for legislative engagement. How does the council respond to legislation and engage with legislators? And another section that's about general stakeholder engagement, especially with regard to recommendations. So it's all here. You should have it all in your emails too, many times, I think. But we have Elizabeth Simpson, who is our legal advisor for the council, online too, if anyone has any questions about this appendix item or any of the other changes that were made to the bylaws.
Just briefly, if you want to, just for our discussion, go back 2 slides, please.
Yeah.
So just to briefly, with the stakeholder engagement, it's just being crystal clear, and this went through the legal counsel, as Annika said, on who is allowed to, you can engage all you want as yourself, but if you're saying FSRC, we now have guidelines on how that happens. And then the second one is really just the next slide, is really just how we do our recommendations, right? Making sure that we have the council members that are kind of the final ones with that recommendations and writing of the recommendation. So it's just formalizing the process. We have a formal council, and this is formalizing the engagement in that council. So we'll open it up for discussion. This is discussion to add these as an appendix to the bylaws.
This may not be helpful to add, but I know we have several council members who weren't around this time last year. For those who are newer to the council, just something to be aware of is the council before last fall had no bylaws that were adopted. So this is a relatively new document, and we're just updating after like a trial year with the existing bylaws, if that makes sense.
So we did the bylaws last year, and then this is an appendix to the bylaws on how we engage legally and as a council. What are kind of the our process for engagement is really what it is. Okay.
Any questions on it? Questions for Elizabeth? No questions.
Okay.
Okay.
So we would like to vote on updating these vote on the updated FSRC bylaws. Do we have someone who would like to bring that to a vote? To move. Okay, Diana, do you have a second? Okay, yeah. So all those in favor of adopting the updated FSRC bylaws, please raise your hand or say aye. Okay, all those opposed? Okay. Thank you very much. The new bylaws have been updated, so thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, we're going to shift gears now to a more fun and engaging part of the meeting. I'm really excited to revisit our workshop that Monica started for you all in September. And this is the second part, as we said was going to happen. And Daphne has very generously offered to, or agreed to participate in this. And so they have done a lot of work collaborating together and trying to figure out how to really apply the first workshop's training or learnings to the council's work and what's next for you all. You both can do a better job than me at explaining this probably. But should I give it to you guys?
Yep, we're ready to go. So first, just want to thank Daphne for joining on this effort and co-facilitating with me today. I'm going to go over our learning objectives so that way you know what we're able to accomplish in a very short amount of time. I think we've got about
an hour.
I don't know how much time we have.
An
now,
hour.
but about an hour together, so it might be. But about an hour together. So
Sorry.
we tried to develop something for you based off of our last session together. The items that you shared with us that you wanted to achieve today. And then we're going to leave you with something that you can actually use going forward. So by the end of today, we hope that you'll be able to integrate an actionable equity strategy. So we're going to give you a tool that you can use into either the work that you're doing to develop recommendations, or now with the change for the next year, we would like for you to also take some time to use this tool to review what you all have done in the past. And then also, we know that we're going to share on the next screen here shortly. We'll share some of the concerns that you all have had for doing this work. And then so we'll give you some insight on how the work continues. So this is not in the slide deck, but it's important to me, and I think it's meaningful for the group just to think about where we are, where we're going, and what really that we are, the work that we're doing. So I am not the food system expert. That's why we have Daphne and all of you. But I do understand systems, and I understand how systems and policies and practices impact people. I understand our experiences, and I think what makes me unique, and I just sat here and thought about it, was even just my own experience. So sitting here from all the folks in the Food System Council, I thought to myself, wonder what these folks got into it for. I just learned today that Daphne was a certified dietitian. I'm like, yeah, I gotta talk to her. I have to really learn some stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, what do they get into it for? So maybe at another day, I would actually like to know, did you all get into it? I don't know, did you like the taste of food? Did you get into it because you're a system thinker and you're trying to correct some stuff? Did you get into it? I mean, I'm just kind of curious to know that about you all. And then for me, I sat here and I thought, well, what has food meant to me in my life? What does food represented? Who do I represent? So, and what do I have to really offer you all in an hour to make it even more meaningful? So for me, I approach all of my work with all of my experiences. So I am also a child who experienced homelessness and went without food. I am also have had different opportunities that I chased. So I'm also a person that have had the privilege and opportunity to enjoy Japanese Wagyu on New Year's Eve. That's like my New Year's thing that I like to do. So even just comparing both of those different experiences represents a variety of different experiences and parts of life and what food has meant to me. So I appreciate the work that you all are doing. And then also I thought to myself, well, when did the food system start? Because I'm not the expert. And I said, man, there's a really, you have to go back centuries and think about centuries of time. And yeah, and so why it's important, and we're not going to be able to get into it and solve it today, but I do want you all to think about it once we get to the tool that we're going to talk to you all about. It's not a checklist. really, if you all are trying to solve issues that are systemically, historically rooted. I wish that you all could get your place to have a much richer conversation. I know that we're not going to accomplish that in the hour that we have together, but I really do want you all just to understand that we are dealing with a system that was built over centuries when a broader part of society was shaped by many different disparities, different points in time, and at each interval of those different centuries, there were different policies, different practices that were shaped by different folks' experiences. The Monica, the 10, 11-year-old Monica that's splitting a burrito with 5 of her siblings would be telling y'all some different stuff that I think than this Monica today, right? So it's much like that. So I'll pause. That was just on my heart to say. So I wanted to say that. Yeah. So none of us can see that. But looking back, I'll read it. I'll go out there and read it. So some of these are what you all, I wanted to make sure we shared the results. I think we talked about it the last time we were together. But there are some different group norms that you all came up with for doing the work that you're going to do. And the top 3 of them are to respect different perspectives, speak from your own experience and assume good intent, allow space for quieter voices to participate and to be respectful of each other. So I hope that, you all will continue to put some focus on these kind of conversations, but you're going to need all of those things to be successful. And it's probably the last session and today's session will be quite easy for you because you're not getting into any really hard conversations. But should your work ever take you to where you do get into more serious kind of conversations, that you do want to continue to remember that. And as you review some of the recommendations, you've got different kind of perspectives, different opinions. We all have different experiences. And so, one of the approaches I'll talk about later is how do you get to a place where you're leading really from a place of curiosity and learning. Next slide. Oh, you want to take this one?
Oh, yeah, sure. So one thing that Monica had us do last time was to basically, she asked the question, if we are to have another session, like what would you like to do, specifically where we are right now as a council? And a lot of you were kind of tormented about like what to do in this climate, and how to really proceed with the work. And so, so you won't stop. So you won't be able to see it, but we can read it. But we had you ranked certain things that came up that showed up for all of us. And one thing that you said, you wanted to walk away with actionable strategies for incorporating equity in recommendation development. You wanted to determine how we're going to incorporate this in our work and on the council, and better understand how the government changes to food programs are affecting people, and also to address current issues and determine how to move forward, and to understand what other fears and concerns and the challenges and issues they're encountering. That one, so those were the top 4, but that one right now we're going to table it because it's complicated, right? There's a lot of systems in place and we will be able to address it just in this time. We will need more time to do that. However, we can talk about how do you incorporate, what we do at the council, how do you, how do you make it meaningful and continue to work? We can actually understand the changes that are happening in the government and how they're affecting people, and how we actually should do our work, to continue our work to, impact those that actually don't have a voice. That's what you said. You want to, give the voice to those that don't have, and also walk away with something. So what you are going to walk away with is that tool we're going to give you today, right? Which is something that's actionable. That'd be something that you can use when you're developing policies, when you're developing programs, whatever that you are doing. We feel like that is something that you'll be able to take and just kind of put it there. And people, what do you think? Oh, so we just kind of help you think, like, okay, those that actually can do this, like, this is what I'm doing the work for, right? So a lot of time when you do community needs assessment, truthfully, but a lot of time we don't do that. We just create policies, create programs, and thinking, hey, here, you need to do this. No, I don't, because if you ask me, that's what I need. And so we feel like this tool can kind of, help you put your mind in that space, like, think about creating something. It's actually going to be needed, that it's actually going to help
those that you are, and that you are working with. Yeah. So, yeah.
You know, so there's no like, you're one piece of the puzzle. So I always set out on these missions like I'm gonna change the world. But and it can feel that way, but you also have to give yourself some grace to know that you are one piece of the puzzle. This team is going to move this work forward. Likely is not going to solve the issues. Likely is not going to reverse any of the, the entire historical inequities, but can advance and move forward.
Sorry, everyone.
Yeah.
Just ignore what I'm doing. Found a way to make it bigger though. Keep going, please.
Okay. So I do want to share a couple of different things. So we talked about based off of what you all said you wanted to do. So strategies for incorporating equity. We're going to redevelop a food system equity tool worksheet for you. I think it was sent out this morning. Our printer's down, so we weren't able to print copies, but we're still going to be able to work through that tool. Today, you all mentioned wanting to talk about some practical approaches to equity work, discuss some of the challenges, and discussing some alternative language that we can use. And then also wanted to remind you that we do still have our civil rights and equal employment opportunity laws that are still relevant to food systems. And however, they are also limited because there are different protections at the federal and state levels. There is also a difference between legal discrimination and discrimination bias, and the only thing that's protected is illegal discrimination. So that's just, I'm keeping it real all the time also. So first, let's go to, before we get to the worksheet, just some of the practical challenges with equity work. Some of the current challenges, right, having funding removed, how to be mindful about the words that we use, how we do this work. I am going to give you some alternatives and talk about that. I also do still want to encourage folks to still be bold in the heart to some degree. For me, it's easier to show up bold in the world just because of my experiences. But that is not everybody else's experience. So also don't make judgment as to why someone else is not showing up as bold as you are. But some different words that we can use. So I don't recommend using the word racism. I know that we could, and it's hard for me to say this, but I'm just saying how we have to operate. I think that we can still talk about racism without exactly using the word racism. I think that we can use words like longstanding disparities, historical barriers. So you'll see a lot of times when I speak, I'll talk about some of the historical inequities, historical barriers. I also know that is probably controversial to the mandate of this council, because I think in some of the development, it includes the mandate to address racism. So, but I'm just saying you could use some other words. When you talk to somebody about racism, some groups I talk to, that we have a whole conversation. Some groups, they shut down, don't want to engage any further, and there's many different reasons for that. So don't be too quick to also make assumptions as to why somebody might or may not participate. You can still talk about, unequal distribution of resources. I think people understand that. Structural barriers, using words like that. I think that when we talk about diversity, we can use other words like representation. I don't know, it feels kind of silly, even me just talking to you all about why we have to use these different words. But it's good to know. Instead of equity, you can just say fairness. I think that we haven't gotten so bad that we forgot to be fair, like we learned in kindergarten. So, sure.
Yeah, I just want to ask a question. So, to clarify why certain words should not be utilized, is that the approach to like federal grant funding, or is it an approach changing the systematic words associated with it?
So let me clarify. I am not in any way directed or directing or I am not directing or recommending that you use a certain word instead of another. I'm just sharing my experience, guidance and support about other words that you could use because you don't want to get caught up on didn't do this word doesn't work. I just feel like that's silly. So for me giving you this information is based off of where we are in society. Because when I do my work, I look at people and society. Doesn't matter if I'm looking at what we're doing at the federal, state level, what person's doing or that person's doing. My work really centers on the people in the community and help us learn. So in terms of how I'm presenting information, that's the perspective that I'm taking. Does that help?
Yes, it does.
I will add that actually, because I took some notes, because in our work in academic, it is funded. So sometimes it is federal funding and you are prohibited from using some of those words, so we may not be, here in the state and, have some governors do a little bit here, so go like a better word, and some of them, like, follow the rules, which is fine, follow which are okay. But when we talk about, unequal treatment and health equity, one way you can say that is actually, you want to create access to it. But you're not saying that, access for all. It doesn't matter if you're rural, if you're urban, if you're whatever. We want everyone to have access, right? So, and everybody's still doing the work, but what you're doing is you want everybody to have it. And as opposed to saying, those words, those targeted words, underrepresented minority, you don't use those. You just say, I want to target this community, or you want to say, you actually pinpoint. Allyship is something that is not their flag. Like, again, going back to access to everyone. It's a boy or girl, you just do it that way. Not to say, just say black, just say Hispanic, just say Native, just whatever you're targeting, and continue to know that this is research, this is science, and which is what we pride ourselves on. The data will say what it needs to say, and that's if you have data to back the work, you have data to back it. And the way you interpret those results may be different, right? You can't say disparities, which is kind of loud, but that's what it is, and that's where we are. Fine, but not everyone has this, so we want to. This is what we know. The data says this. Everyone does not have that resource. So how do we get at that?
Yeah. So definitely gives us the legitimate business necessary reasons to use different language. I'm giving us just the social components of still being able to do the work, and both are important, right? So channel your inner Daphne, inner Monica, depending on what you're doing. But also, what is a word? What's in a word? I remember I'm thinking back to the time that I did a training for judges, and one of the judges challenged me on a word and went back to what's the root called? The root meaning of the word is Latin or this. And I said, you know what? I don't know. I don't care nothing about all of that. I also know that words have social meaning. So people give meaning to words. And that's what's at stake what we're talking about here. So however, and this is where I'll end, however you need to do this work to protect the business necessity of what you need to carry out and also be able to advance the work forward that impacts people and society in a real way. I don't necessarily care what that word should be. Whatever word you need to use that is complementary to the word that's now a bad word, use that.
I like that.
Okay.
I like that.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the challenge. Also some other approaches that's just going to carry you a long way. Why a lot of this work hasn't been able to, advance or have folks join conversations is sometimes too because of the historical challenges. We get into these kind of blame-based kind of conversations or discussions without realizing, hey, we're all just kind of left with the system and we're trying to learn and understand it. You do have to go back history to understand historic inequities. And remember the last session that I talked to you, that's why I was sharing about the different levels, individual, institutional, the different levels of bias, because what we are addressing now, and I've just made a note, is institutional bias. And that doesn't mean that anybody had an intent to use their bias to create a system. A lot of that is caused by unintentional harm. which is something that why we do want you to use the tool, because that's something, a measure that you can take to prevent unintended consequences. So one thing that I recommend is avoiding a shame-based approach. You know, people really do shut down when they feel blame. Your experience also is not, it might be different from someone else's, but it's not more prioritized than somebody else's. You ain't all that. Lean into really being curious. So when you find it, and this is stuff that you can do in your everyday life, not just at work, just in your everyday life. Lean into being curious. I'm a storyteller. I won't get into all the details, but I was sitting by a woman, and she had made, and this happens quite often, but she had made a reference to Baltimore. She had visited Baltimore for a work conference, spent some time at the Inner Harbor, had commented about, you know, how beautiful it was. Then I'm sitting at the table, we get into more conversation, and she starts having more conversation about Baltimore. And then like all the stuff that she learned about the wire starts coming out. And I asked her, and then there was something else that she had mentioned, and I asked her, I said, wow, you know, you have a lot of opinion about these places you've never actually been to. Like, how so? How is that? Talk to me about that. But it was more so the curiosity, tell me how you arrived at some of these, not like you don't know nothing about this. Not gonna get there. Also learning, you know, I call myself like a lifelong learner. Learning basically saved my life anyway, but I love learning. We are not the experts in all things. I cannot come in here and talk to you all about the history of the food system. I can only compliment the work that you're doing. So if you get in a space where, you know, just fall in love with learning and then still have the dialogue. A lot of the current challenges are designed to try to keep us from having some of the conversations. We're talking about what words we can use and words we can, and having restrictions on that. And then, you know, growth. And growth doesn't always look pretty. So keep that in mind. Also adapt your vocabulary to your audience. That's something always still to keep in mind. And then also partner. If you invite people to the conversation. So when I came into this work, I would always tell folks, regardless of where you sit on it, we can still talk. It's okay. And so, you know, when people feel like they are a contributor or they're a stakeholder or they're collaborating with you, they're more likely to engage with you. So ask for other folks' input. And then protect your own emotional energy. So today, sitting here, when I came in, I had not thought about sharing my own personal story of, you know, experiencing homelessness or hunger as a child. But sitting here thinking about what I'm getting ready to talk to you all about, the work that you're doing, I did think that it was important for me to mention that. But there was also part of emotional energy in there. And just before the session, like, man, I really got to talk about different words that we have to use for identities and experiences that I have, and how does that make me feel, rather than, you know, who does it benefit, who does it harm? So, you know, those are real things. So spend some time reflecting on it, set boundaries, and find support systems for you all to talk about those things. All right, next slide.
All right, Daphne. Oh, yeah. The food equity tool. All right. So this tool, are we gonna
we're gonna pull it up.
We're gonna pull it up. Okay. So
Do you want me to make sure you're speaking up for them?
Oh, speak. I try to. All right. So I need my glasses. So the food system equity tool, it's something that we adapted. And so what happened is I went through the recommendations that we've had, that we've done, and the work that we did, and the goals that we have, and think about from a public health system, how can we adapt this, working with the population that we're working with, and just how to make it make sense. Almost like if you have to do an evaluation, if you have to do like a logic model, if you have to do, you know, do an outline of before you write a grant or whatever it's supposed to do. So what are some of the components you should be thinking about? So the purpose of this is to ensure when you're doing your work, you're applying equity lens, right? Especially as it relates to the food system, because when you look at the food system and its entity,
It's not just the consumers, it is the farmers, it is the people that are growing the food, it is the truck driver, it is so many different components that we don't think about. It is, how do we support, reflect. Sometimes we get in a bubble, especially in academia or the work that we do, that we really forget about those that are burdened. And, something that may seem like a big deal for us is actually a big deal for others. So we want actually to look to see, well, how do we elevate those voices? And what are they? Like, whose voice are we representing and who's are missing? Sometimes, like, we can look at something, we're like, well, I read this, and well, why didn't we talk to this person? So we have to do that. And the other purpose is actually to give you like a structured process that you can actually build on, add to, or remove, where automatically after a certain use, it becomes a habit, right? As part of your work, have this equity-centered mindset in your work and actually in your daily practice. And it comes with awareness, right? It's with awareness where you are also being aware of what we all not are the same. So when you want to use this tool, right? So it's when you are so many issues, right, that the council may want to address. When you're trying to develop new recommendations on program ideas, also existing recommendations, the activity that we have is like something I pulled out from, we just pulled in a recommendation to strengthen equity and also day-to-day decision making. That means planning, partnership, who we need to invite, who is not here that actually we don't hear from. So those, that's what we hope this tool can bring to you.
The questions from Leslie.
Oh, question from Leslie. Okay, I can't see.
Leslie, we emailed it out to you all this morning. Did you get an email from the MDFSRC email?
There could very well be. I've been in meetings, so I probably just missed it. But as long as we have the link, that's what I'm interested in. Thank you.
It was one of 2 or 3 emails you received in the last 24 hours from me.
All right. Thank you.
It was the one that I believe 702. Ask me why I remember that time. 702.
Yeah, there were 5 attachments, I think,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that one was a 702. It was 5 attachments. And let's
Do you want me to pull up that one?
Oh, wait, no, I don't know. Did I send the tool over?
Yeah, the worksheet. What's the second?
Okay,
attachment?
thank you.
Yeah, it's the second one. The Tide System Equity Tool Worksheet. It's the PDF document.
All right.
Okay, do you want the PowerPoint or the worksheet? What do you want? It's here.
Yeah. All right. So where do I want to start? So one, this. Okay. So this toolkit we adapted from their Government Alliance on Racial Equity tool, and adapted it so that way it's relevant to your work in food. So that equity mindset systems thinker, you always want to be in the mindset of knowing that the systems that we have today were created long before us, and generally are reflective of what was going on at the time. So that's just self-explanatory. So we have to be very intentional about the work that we do moving forward to try to create, to address a variety of the different negative impacts that or as a result of the systems that we're working in. All right, so how you would use this tool. One, you just need to figure out, okay, are you going to use, you can use this tool, it's more so as a guide on the side. So you can have print it off when you all are discussing whatever your proposal is. If you're discussing a recommendation that you're wanting to put forward, issues around funding, a program that you want to implement, a policy that you want to address, you first want to be very clear about what you're using this tool for. You want to think about what are the community level results that you intend on happening. Like, what is it as a result of this thing that you're doing? What do you intend to happen in the community? And then you want to think about even wider organizational wise, what are going to be the outcomes. You want to think about the different food system domains, if you scroll down, that are going to be impacted by what you're doing. So think about it. They had this back in the 1600s. They might have been better able to assess what food system go back 1600s, right? 1600, yeah. So they might have been. I want you to really think about it that way. If they had this tool back in such time, how might they have used it? So think about the different food system domains that's impacted, so that way you can just be very clear about that. And then you want to try to make data-informed decisions. So this tool can help you assess, hey, is this just something that you're putting forth? Do you think it's a good idea? Is something that you've heard might be good? Is it supported by the data? So one, does the data show that there is an inequity that exists? If so, what is that? And then where is that inequity? Or where is this, who is this proposal going to impact? Specific to Maryland. Then you do want to consider some of the demographics that's represented in that data. We left spaces for other, just in case there's other things that come up that my brain is not an AI brain, so might not have thought about all the different options. Scroll down. Also, very important, right? Remember what I said about the 11-year-old Monica would have said something different to you maybe than this Monica today. So how would you get, if you're creating something if I was creating something for my 11-year-old self, how am I going to get my voice represented in the data? A lot of times, you all may not conduct your own listening sessions, but I still think that there are still ways that you can make sure that community voice is represented, whether that's a partner organization that you all work with. You also have to think about, when you're doing this work collectively, and this is what I've worked with a variety of different folks. I also want us to realize that there is strength and resources that we all bring to the table, whether that's because of an organization we work with, whether that's somebody that we know, whether that is our employment background, whether that's our education. Like, there's so many resources amongst us. So how can you make sure that the community voice is captured? And then, are there any gaps where data is missing, where you needed more information, or you don't have a specific information? We want to know that too. Who is this recommendation going to impact the most? And what has your engagement been specifically with them? Scroll down. Who wasn't included? So be specific about that. Who wasn't included? That can directly help you think about who might be negatively impacted if they weren't included at all. And that doesn't mean that you did something wrong by noting who wasn't included, but it can help you and more forward thinking about, even in the future, hey, we couldn't connect with this demographic this time, but in the future maybe we could make some other efforts to connect. It also gives it seems really long, but how it's going to advance equity, who's going to benefit from it, what are the potential burdens. Thinking about my limited knowledge about food systems, but also, again, this is just Monica's experience. I'm not the expert, but thinking about my life in food, I think about, I had moved to the Midwest, and my family did work in food systems, but they were always working in the warehouses and different things. And I'm just always thinking about also, like, who is working in the warehouses and how did that play in the food systems? Was it designed that way to who's going to be the workers? Is it a business design? That's where my brain is going. So, what are the potential burdens? Are there any unintended consequences that should be monitored? And then what's the, required action and what resource or capacity is needed that you may not have. And then how we're going to close the loop. So if we engage the community and those individuals that are going to be impacted, how do we communicate back to them what we've done or what we're recommending and how we think it might turn out? Folks should be included. So I think that that's just about it. We are going to use this tool in an activity because we created it. Doesn't mean that like it's a perfect tool. We would like to get some feedback so we can further refine it. But there is an activity that we can work through as a group just to reflect on one of the recommendations. We're not going to solve it. We're not going to probably get through the whole thing, but what I want you to do is just have some experience with the tool. Any questions? Did I go too far?
Yeah, it was out on the table, but I'm passing around copies of the recommendation on cold storage in case you didn't pick it up on your way in. Yeah. I'm gonna print something, see if I can.
Why do I feel bad eating that cookie got here? I felt like you was a Dyson.
Sharing the room, but I'm sharing goal 2. No, I'm sharing goal 2 on the screen for, that's what you want. Okay.
It's working. It's printing.
It's not printing yet. The internet is working though.
Okay,
I'll be right back.
Yeah, we're gonna start with the activity, but let me just clarify one question. What's your name?
I have to.
Lindsay asked for the data question on here on the toolkit. Is it all the way up at the top, or
Is it this one, data?
The data is step 2.
What does the data tell us?
yeah? What does the data say? Is there existing data indicating inequity? So number one, when you get there, that should force you to stop to say, do you have data or do you not have any data? And then it should make your brain go, what is the inequity? Before just putting together, my daughter, 17 years old, she said, Mom, sometimes people like to talk, they don't really have a plan.
That part.
I said, this girl's so
You guys should figure that out.
yeah, I'm glad she figured it out now. So, just kind of, this is, so I think from systems, from organizational behavior, from just human behavior, that's kind of where my background is. But if you reach a question like that, it's going to put you in a mindset. That's why we say the words equity lens and equity mindset. This is what we mean. You put yourself in a space where you're looking to see if you've done this part of the work.
And also with data, I just like what you said. And when you were going through it, I was thinking about that. And I know sometimes the data doesn't exist.
That's what my next question.
And ask yourself, why doesn't the data exist?
And is there a way to get to
Right. And sometimes you have data. I can speak to that. Sometimes you have data, but the net was not cast wide enough for you to basically break it down, right? Disintegrate it, where you can do certain analysis. You don't have the power. You mean you don't have the simple side to basically run analysis on a subgroup of the population because the net wasn't cast wide enough. So you have to ask yourself, when you're making guidelines, when you're making policies, you're making it for everyone, yet the net was not cast for everyone, right? And so sometimes that should show, right? You're talking about from an equity mindset. Well, dang, we don't have it on these people. Why don't we have it? Are they too far to reach? You know what I mean? Or is there some literacy issue involved? Or did we not include in the study that we should have research coordinators go in these areas, complex area, because maybe it's an internet issue. There's so many issues that could be of the why. We don't know the why, but that may be what we need to know because this group is not even here.
Yeah.
And why is that? Right? So that should kind of help us. You know.
And when we're talking about data, is your definition of data both qualitative and quantitative, or just?
For me, it has to be both.
It has to be both.
It don't have to be both. If you don't have the ability, but I like
mixed methods. Yes, no, I Right? agree. Because-
We need to define that on this
Yeah,
worksheet.
we like, and the dietary guidelines use some of the mixed method because they do, live experience is qualitative, right? With the work that we do, especially some of the population that are affected. We don't, that's not something you can, you can quantify when you work, but the storytelling, they're so rich. Sometimes a policymaker need to hear that to understand, like, no, this is why we need to change this. This is what's going on.
And-
But they need to understand it, and they need to hear it, but they also need to understand it.
Correct.
There's two different things.
Yes,
there. You can hear something and come up with your own opinion.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and we didn't specify, a place on the worksheet to document if it was qualitative or quantitative, but you should assume both. I'll also say for the word, that business aspect has always been an area, also has always been, a barrier to advance in the work because a lot of this work is rooted in the stories. If we think about, just taking us back a moment, how at one point in society we did hear not long ago, it was stories. It was how people felt. It was those things. So, and those things will always move people. That's the 11-year-old mind to talk to me on. Those stories will always move people because as an 11-year-old, I was the number that other people were probably, researching and writing the reports, but I was that 11-year-old and my story mattered, but who was talking to me about the story? So, yeah.
People telling stories give you a better understanding of where they come from, for their history and their journey.
Yes.
If you don't listen to a story, you really don't know the person.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
I-
That's like.
To me, I think the importance of this too, that is for that story. So let's say we're working on a recommendation. I know you're going to take us through an activity, but I think it's really important for us as council members to, if we're thinking about a recommendation and going through this, we need to have the time before the next meeting to go back to your food banks, to go back to your food councils, to go back to your constituents, to go and find those stories, right? Before you come to the next meeting so that you have that engagement. And I think having this kind of spelled out will, is the data online? If it's not, then go find the state, go find the stories, go find the data and bring that to the next meeting with you.
Yeah. And understand every program, every policy, every whatever, the need is different. You may not even need that type of data, and that's okay. Just, your mind needs to be open and not to just kind of, and that's why sometimes you need other people educated, right? So you can so you can see, where the limitations are. Do we want to start now? Because I will say, our lovely Annika, she was able to print it. So,
And learning is, we're gonna keep moving though, because the more I sit here, the more I get a connection to food and what it represents.
I'm gonna keep Monica.
So, yeah, keep
Monica, let's go.
keep it
All
going.
right.
All right. Yeah. Okay, where are we at? So we are going to review, page 29. So,
Review the tool already. You want me to?
yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So we presented the tool, and so what we want to do is we want you to get you in the spirit of how do you apply this in something that's, real life. So what we did is we went in the recommendation, the 2025 recommendation that we made, and we select one of them. And one of your recommendations was to, what was it? It was, recommendation was establish a distributed network of cold storage for food system resiliency, right? So what we want you to do is work through each step of the tool as if you were evaluating that recommendation you guys made, right? So within that, there's some verbiage as to, background, the justification, implementation, etc. So you have the information there in front of you, right? To go to 2.1. So we want you to take that tool, which Annika just provided for us, the worksheet. And for those online, it's also attached in the 702 email. So, go and look at the goal and where did you uncover gaps? Was information missing? How might you apply the tool, to strengthen the recommendation that we did? And actually that goes in line with what we're doing for 2026. Like, right, how can we strengthen that? And how can we make the changes necessary to ensure that we bring that to realization?
And so once we go through this, are we still gonna do it in groups? Do we have time?
I don't know if we have time. We might just have to do it as a group.
Yeah, so I think let's do it as a big group, and so.
Even if they don't make it through the full.
Yeah.
thing,
So
because-
maybe what we'll do, just so everyone can familiarize themselves with the goal, we'll give maybe about 3 minutes for you to read through it. It's on page 29. Just kind of familiarize yourself with it, and then we'll go through the worksheet together. And the same thing goes to for our friends online, please. We think about you and we love you. We just want to make sure that.
I don't know if I didn't hear it, but one thing that I wanted to note for people who are newer to the council, Daphne and Monica chose this recommendation because it, in part, has been in every single report that the council has published. So hopefully this will be helpful for the next version of the cold storage.
And I remember that.
Yeah.
Did I go in each committee? Did I go on a, did you all go on a tour for this recommendation? No, I went on a tour. I remember it was.
Are you talking about the one in Cecil County? Yeah, we were on one in Cecil County, yeah.
And then we went to some school.
And they got schools. No, don't let me sidetrack you. Sorry, I'll get us going.
And then there's also yeah, Western Maryland.
Maryland.
Oh, yeah.
Western.
Yeah. Hagerstown. Don't know how to phrase that from there, because there's two back Western region. Yeah, I was like Maryland food bank Western region. There is a
And that's definitely.
Yes. Yeah, I think they can hear us. Conversation.
I'm sorry.
And we all had a chance to kind of go into this. You think we're kind of ready to start?
Yep. Yeah.
All right, so we know, okay, so we'll start with, the first step, which says, proposal description, design result, which is what, you just read, which was basically establish a distributed network of cold storage for food system resiliency. So that is the recommendation. So step 1.2 is intended community level results. So what is the intended, result that we anticipate for this recommendation? Can we name some of those things?
Reducing food waste,
Mhm.
support for the farmers, reducing food waste, expand food aggregation and distribution capacities.
Okay.
Reduce methane emissions from wasted food. Climate change.
Extend the shelf life.
All right, now, what is the intended organizational outcome? So what is it gonna do to organizations for those that, so think about
Increase storage capacity.
capacity, exactly. So those that actually have food that don't have, or they don't want to be wasted. So what is that gonna do for them?
My brain might have went to an unintended outcome, but for that all to be achieved, it's gonna cost these organizations some money. They might have to get more creative. They might have to have more staff.
Okay. So
Maybe not an unintentional outcome, but to realize it.
I think we talked about that, what else I'm gonna do.
Also,
Yeah. All right, and so which domain do we think this goes into? Oh, I got it.
Waste and recovery. Food access.
Okay, so we have food access and recovery, but no.
Distribution and supply chain.
Yeah, definitely distribution and supply chain. Is there anything that's missing that we don't have on there that you feel like should be on there for that one?
I was gonna say, no, I was, the impact of cold storage is, that there is going to be, I know it's climate resilience, but it can also flip on that. And because of the electrical draw associated with cold storage, there can be a negative slant. So it's an impact that's negative, not positive. And this is, we're talking about resiliency. So draw of electrification.
Okay.
Sorry.
No,
that's
good. Yeah.
There's that one. Even if you use like a solar powered cold storage, that would still have the same impact.
So with solar, you have to have the battery supply. And that's not a direct connect, right? So you're gonna eventually have to replace those. So it's not always.
You know why that whole conversation right there, I'm so glad that you were that you encouraged her to share it and you shared it. Because even figuring out that's a gap and you all want to make this a reality, that could also tell us who we need to engage, who we need to talk to, who we need to. Remember what I also mentioned about our approach to get collector collaborators and collaborating and stakeholders.
Yeah, LaBelle has her hand up.
Hi, LaBelle.
Yeah, I raised it and I put it down because I thought we were going to come back to this, but to lend my voice to sharing my story, my church is actually one of the recipients of one of those trailers that was given in Prince George's County. And we were super excited, still are excited to be a recipient, to have it. But these are the unexpected outcomes, right? We need staff, we need structure, organizational design, a business model, money to pay for electricity, the maintenance of the area because where it's located. So it's just interesting that I didn't know the connection previous to this. I knew how my church got it, and I also know the role that I play at the state. But to see this come to life right now, I'm like, oh wait, I have a story that connects to this specifically, and had no idea. So I'm mute now.
Thanks for sharing that.
Unique voice.
Yeah. And that was something we probably didn't think about, like looking at is there a state, somebody else or another community that actually has that? And, how did they address some of those symptoms that unintended consequences? Like, how did we can have a great idea, but the importance of getting the community first involved, so we can actually say, okay, we want this for them, that would be great from a systems issue, because issues it's not really but actually it was in them. So thank you for sharing that.
You have to forgive me for a second because my head buried in hundreds of thousands of food systems.
Yeah.
But I was going to do the same thing as you. And I don't know where this fits in here, but my first thought with looking at this was something like that. And where is there space for looking at other alternatives? Because at face value, this looks perfect, but we've been around for a very long time without cold storage. And if you look at every traditional culture in the world, the focus, the foundation of their food system is fermentation. I mean, in addition to all the other things here, I would suggest that there's other things that be explored as well without the energy draw. That is also speaking to very important and traditional core values and food ways that people could connect with.
And that also ties into the recommendation Daphne gave earlier, also about alternative language for everyone, right? So we still have to think about sometimes trying to correct, inequity can create other inequities also. Yeah. So kind of need to think about. So that's actually something. I'm sorry, I don't know if the teacher or
No, that's good. And sometimes what we think is inequity, someone else cannot feel that it is.
Yeah.
And so many of our recommendations come from the top. And then they go on the bottom. And it may not be something that they want to implement or even want to be a part of.
Or to further complicate and take us back to, I'm trying to make everything come together in this 1 hour. But sometimes trying to create an correct an inequity might create an inequality, and that's a different thing.
Right.
It's a wrong and a fair.
Right. I want to go back to what you said though about not looking at alternatives, right? I think two ways this could fit into here. You can look into it about data. Data could be historical, right? What has worked before and what has not. So I think that's one way we could actually bring it into this, right? The other way that I think we can do this is actually when we look at resources and capacity. You can actually look like, okay, with the funding and this, with the that and this, to do this, they're going to need technical assistance. As a result of this information, we can say, okay, this is not a good recommendation as is. So this is what we know from what has worked in the past, which has been fermentation. And how do we incorporate that in this recommendation to ensure that, you know what I mean? So I can see it in a different way. Again, it goes back to opening your mind to actually looking at everything. And it may be something that we need to add in the description, like think about what has worked before and what not. Yeah. I totally agree. Does that
Oh,
sound-
absolutely.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
What's-
okay.
And just for our just for this cold storage recommendation, I think then when we are aware of an unintended consequence, then it could be addressed in here by saying, and this will increase the need for staffing or electricity or whatever. And to offset that, we're recommending that education on fermentation be included in this proposal, because then you've got the two parts and you can talk about the nutritional benefits, you can talk about historically, and they can go hand in hand then, and then it'll cut down, right, Shannon? It'll cut down then.
I'm gonna, Lisa, have the first one, 'cause I think I'm gonna go to step 2 on what you're saying.
I also would just be curious, which is not specifically a recommendation, but we heard in the distribution access, one of our speakers who was talking from a rural grocery store, and the primary barrier for both staying in business and also having local produce was the electricity bills. So that cross link, that electricity seems to be a barrier for a number of these things, kind of as an interesting, kind of cross. So kind of figuring out that is also interesting. That electricity becomes a barrier for food access.
Yeah, that does, yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
and I think when we're kind of considering the sort of intersection of all the different sort of domains impacted, going back to the conversation on solar power, cold storage, and sort of the other resources available across the state to also reduce energy bills when businesses or households are drawing from renewable sources. So like there are other existing programs across the state government, state and also county governments that are available to potentially support small businesses or grocers or farmers that are looking to incorporate solar powered cold storage. And so there may be essentially like hidden solutions as we look at the different intersections within food system domains that you have there. Yeah. Yes,
I don't want to derail the conversation, but we're talking fermentation. I'm very passionate. I just want to provide an example that may be, it's a very quick, easy example, but I think it's a powerful one. Our kids growing up, they would have carrots in their lunch every single day for lunch. And getting up every morning, cutting the carrot, making sandwiches, it started to get old. So then on Sunday nights, I would cut all the carrots up and put them in a container in the fridge with a little bit of water. And the carrot they ate on Monday, and I pulled from that, and then Tuesday, I pulled from it. The carrot they ate on Monday was a completely different thing than the carrot they ate on Friday, right? It would start to turn white, it was drying out, the nutritional value wasn't there, the flavor wasn't there. And by Thursday and Friday, those carrot sticks were coming back at the end of the day because they weren't eating them. So then we started fermenting them. And instead of putting them in water, I put them in salt water and put them on the counter. And on Monday, and carrots ferment very, very quickly. By Monday, they looked and tasted a certain way. By Tuesday, they were a little better. By Wednesday, they were fermenting. And by Friday, they were a completely different food. They tasted better, the texture was better, the aroma was better, and the nutritional value was better. And they were loaded with probiotics. And it only took a little bit of salt and room temperature instead of 39 degrees. So I do think there's something to that where we can not only the unintended consequences, what are the other alternatives and what are the advantages to those other alternatives?
I know we're at time, but can I just add one thing that I think it adds value, please? What you all said about, I think you said it, what else can we do then to provide the education? Because you could also, I am thinking about the a disadvantaged some child, some family that doesn't have the dad that has all of this information about what to do with the food. And us trying to create food, what is it? Food storage, cold storage, whatever for the other person, right? I'm thinking about my family. My mom would have been like, I'm gonna be gone for a few days because I gotta do X, Y, and Z work. I need to cook something that's gonna last. You got spaghetti and it's good for 4 days. We tried to do that, but had she had maybe some education about how to take carrots and do some different things with it, mom, you know, what to eat on Monday versus on Wednesday. And as a family, we had that education, then we might have ate something different.
Right. So we're getting out of time because I know, so I do want to say something. I got excited listening to all of you because this actually proved like the point we're making.
Yep,
Collectively,
exactly.
when you have different voices at the table with different experiences, you can see the issue somewhat differently. And look, all the things we are able to actually kind of put into recommendation that we may not see that's there already. How can we elevate that to make it something better? And what communities need to be involved? Maybe, you know, that's done it so we can change it to make sure it happens. It may not be something that's going to, and part of it too, maybe policymakers don't even understand what they're talking about. Let's just be clear. A lot of them don't know what, you know, they may not getting it. But at the same time, we can create a step like different, you know, tiers for them. You know, we did this, A's done, B's done, to ultimately get to the goal. Thank you for your time.
Well, I was raising my hand to just say what Secretary Addix put in the chat, which was that food prep education is key. So he was echoing exactly what you were saying, Daphne. Any closing thoughts on this? I know that we'd like to save time for just like roundtable updates. So that's what I'm stopping this conversation for.
No, I mean, I just want to thank, I want to thank both of you for facilitating this conversation, but I really do want to thank everybody for participating because I think this was exactly, as we listened to these voices, you know, we saw the value of taking the time to do this for every single one of our recommendations. So we just took one, and I think we all saw the incredible value of going through this worksheet. So thank you for creating this tool for us that's specifically for our recommendations. I think this is going to be really valuable for us moving forward. So I just want to, I really appreciate the time you put into this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Lots of celebration online too. Okay, so roundtable updates. We don't have very much time, but I want to give everyone a chance who has something to share to go for it. We're going to start with local food councils. Are there any updates from local food councils?
I think I already said mine.
Can you say your name and the council?
It's Teresa Stahl with the Western Maryland Food Council. The Allegheny County Health Department got a grant to work with farmers to develop produce boxes for people receiving SNAP that they could purchase for $5. And September was when we had 2 distributions, and then the farmers decided to do another distribution. We just did it this week in December. So it's already working really well, and we know we're funded for next season. So,
We have Rena online from Howard County.
Good morning. My name is Rena Rambrat. I'm with the Howard County Food Council, which is a new food council, and we recently received a grant from the Maryland Department of Health, and we will be setting up hydroponic systems in 11 schools. Thank you.
What are you growing in your systems?
We plan to grow like little things that can grow like lettuce, herbs, and so on. So we're focusing on like 4 elementary, 4 middle, and 3 high schools. So different systems.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hi, Diana Taylor from Anne Arundel County. And we are actually working on our roadmap. So I thank you, Monica and Daphne, for this tool. I'm definitely going to take it back so we can utilize it, Leah. So I'm looking forward to see where we go for the next 2 years. We do a roadmap for 2 years.
Teresa, Western Maryland Food Bank. I just want to add that we're doing the Karen assessment. We participated in that Karen cohort, and I was also thinking that this tool could be utilized when we do our listening sessions.
Yeah.
So Nancy and I on the Eastern Shore Food Council, and we had, we built some momentum since last March. And I think the one thing we did discover pretty uniformly throughout the shores, the lack of data. So with the help of No Kid Hungry and Washington College, they've actually started to collect data so that we'll have a uniform database throughout the shore. And then again, with No Kid Hungry and the planning committee from last year's symposium, we were going to take a year hiatus, but there's been such momentum within the council, so they plan to have another symposium this spring or next spring, 2026.
Right. So Stephanie Lansing, University of Maryland, one of the things that we did, we helped with the creation of the emergency website, but we took a lot of that information because it was an emergency website and we put that on the University of Maryland extension. The other thing we've done is county by county resources. So we really are looking for counties to make sure that those resources are updated. So I'll drop the address in the chat. But we're really trying to kind of continue that information sharing across the counties and be that county by county resource so that you can see what the Anne Arundel County, is doing, and another county can have access and know where to go to find that information. Yes, I will email and
I can send it on the follow-up.
Yeah.
Email.
Well, we'll make sure everybody gets it. Oh, wonderful.
Yes,
Thank you.
and also about your label.
Oh, the food date labeling. Yeah, we have some videos up on food date labeling and other things, and those are all in that resource site. They're just 2 minutes videos in English and Spanish. And we have a couple of videos up that are just really great resources that you can circulate amongst your groups.
Anyone else opening up to the full council membership? I know we didn't get to every local food council, so that's still an option. You.
Grace would like to say to sign up for the Future Harvest conference. Early bird pricing ends this Sunday.
We'd love to
And,
have you, and we've had a lot more good discussions like this there.
They have the agenda posted online. And Sydney from COGS Farm Committee said that the Regional Food Aggregation and Distribution Summit is coming up next Tuesday. In-person registration is full, but they have a virtual option for the morning keynote and panel, and you can register online.
That's for local food COG within the districts that COGS are Council of Government for Prince George's, Frederick, Montgomery, DC, and several Northern Virginia counties.
Any other updates?
The youth center continues to work with the Ag Law Education Initiative, and we're working with Snap Ed, and they've also been a really good partner. We're trying to get as many farmers as we can enrolled to accept SNAP and other federal benefits. So if you're interested, the Food Council or people within your county, let us know, because we can actually do a virtual meeting or in person. The USDA staff's been really good about coming to it, and they'll actually walk the farmer and they can enroll right that day.
Nancy, do we have a registry of farms that are currently enrolled?
Not many in the state, but I know that we've had 26 farmers to date, either enroll or they're in process, which is pretty exciting.
And that was part of the grant that we had. We enrolled 3 farmers in SNAP to accept SNAP at their farm. They accepted it at the market. The market registered to accept it, but they weren't accepting it at their farm. And then another side benefit that we got was they all enrolled to accept EWIC. for the fruits and vegetable benefit. We had no one in our farmers market accepting EWIC. So we're pretty excited about that.
And just as a side for farmers too, the other recommendation we've been trying with farmers, if they already accepted EBT, was to do online as another option as their secondary. So, so that was kind of a tool that helped them if they were doing a CSA model that they could then, so that is kind of a secondary step if they already accepted it.
And we're actually creating a series of videos to sort of help you through the process. So this is what I've learned, this is what doesn't work. So that they can use that.
Great. And then Anne Marie said online that the Montgomery County Food Council has been awarded a grant from the Office of Food System Resilience to serve as the coordinator of our county's food recovery network. We're out of time, you guys. Thank you everyone online and in person. That was a great meeting, and wishing you all a good rest of your day.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming. And thank you so much to the staff for all you've done to organize this. So a big thanks.
Yeah.